Welcome back to How to Negotiate Your Job Offer Like an FBI Negotiator. Now, today we're talking about the second part of this conversation, which is the post-offer phase. Now, a lot of what we're talking about is inspired by a book by a guy named Chris Voss. Chris Voss wrote the book Never Split the Difference, and Chris Voss's background is that he has over 25 years experience as a now retired team lead FBI negotiator. He's negotiated crisis situations and hostage crisis situations in everything from banks to active war zones in other countries. Now, do we need somebody with that dramatic of a background to teach us how to negotiate a job offer effectively? Maybe not, but it's definitely pretty cool. Keeps it interesting. And also, the reason this book was written was for people specifically like us in everyday situations like this that maybe aren't the most confident going out there talking about ourselves and all our best qualities. And it teaches us some strategies to get us ahead in the conversation. So let's jump right in, guys. Number one, we've got show me the money. Now, this is your inner Jerry Maguire or Ari Gold. Why this part of the conversation is really important is because, as we just said, a lot of us aren't that comfortable talking about our best qualities and our biggest strengths in the world, right? So rather than going out there and telling everybody and beating our chests about why we're the coolest and they should hang out with us, we go out there and objectively, we talk to them about what our biggest strengths are and the ways that we provide value. And we'll get to the end where I talk about our value proposition. It's a lot more natural to do that when we have an agent. There's a reason they use agents in the sports and the acting worlds, right? It's because it's effective. It's because it works, having that third-party representative. So what we're going to do is internalize that agent, our internal RE Gold, and we're going to make sure we're showing up to the conversation, letting the company know the ways that we provide value and how we're going to be a great investment for them. So number two, we've got the deadlines are subjective and negotiable. Chris Voss talks about the deadlines are just about always subjective and negotiable in most situations. And the reason deadlines are thrown out is for a sense of urgency. And it's also a sales tactic. So keep in mind when you're getting told that you've only got 24 hours for a return on a job offer, it's probably good to stick to that kind of deadline in general. Definitely okay to ask if there's flexibility. If you're going to ask for flexibility, tell them why. Tell them you want to pull in mentors and advocates and get more people in the conversation so they know you've got people on your team. But in most cases, you're talking about, maximum salaries, or you're talking about maximum PTO days, or variety of other things you might negotiate. You might get told there's deadlines, you might get told there's limitations, but most everything in this process, if they've invested, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 interviews in you, that's a lot of resources, a lot of money they've already spent on you. So it's in their best interest to find a way to work with you at this point, to negotiate in a way that works. Number 3 is having your comparison, your context. How do you compare and contrast an offer letter more effectively than multiple offer letters? So I know that we've been working to this point to make sure that we timed our interview processes together so that we could come out to this stage with 2, 3, 4 written offer letters in hand. Why written? Because can't tell you how many times I know people, and I personally not too long ago had to accept less money from an organization because I only had a verbal offer from another company for $20,000 more. But I didn't have it in writing yet because I didn't time the interview process well. So this is advice from my own mistakes as well as others I've seen people make, is have the written offer letters in hand so that you can compare and contrast what's going on. The next 2 ways to do this that are really effective are just mentors and advocates. Mentors are the people that are in business or professional situations that you feel, are strong or similar to where you're trying to be. In other words, they've gotten results you're looking for. Those are great people to ask advice from. Advocates are people who work at the company. So especially outside the interview process. It's a very protected, preserved environment if a company refers employees for you to talk to and network with. It is an unprotected and kind of the Wild West in the conversations you can have with people. I've had some really interesting conversations, and I've dodged some really bad situations and professionally by having conversations with people. Find somebody with commonalities. If you're a veteran, find other veterans at the company. If you went to a particular school, use LinkedIn's filtering feature to find people that went to the same school, find people in the same roles, and pull those people in and build relationships along the way. And this is the time where you really want to pull them in to maximize the value you can extract from the situation. Number 4, we've got what is negotiable. Knowing what is negotiable, you can Google this, you can look it up, there's some info there, but every situation is going to be very different. So 2 fastest ways to know it's negotiable is to leverage the networking you've done with the advocates at the company, the people you talk to outside of the interview process that you reached out to on LinkedIn, right? where you can have a private conversation with them and ask them any question you want to ask. Get the uncomfortable stuff out there. Sometimes better to ask them a question that you're really nervous about than it is in the interview process with the interviewer. Second way to do this effectively to know what's negotiable is just ask. A lot of the time people are really happy to tell you the information if we just ask, but we get a little intimidated and we forget to do that. And number 5, lastly, guys, we have the value proposition, and this is our inner RE Gold again, and it's letting them know as RE Gold why our client Vince needs to be in their next blockbuster movie, right? It's letting them know the ways that we provide value, though, seriously. It's telling the organization, hey, you told me that you saw that I had this skill set and that would be valuable, right? It's writing those things down along the way when they tell you the ways you provide value or the reasons they're interested in you. And one great way to get those value propositions, guys, is just during the interview process, the pre-offer part, just ask them, hey, by the way, I really appreciate you guys are talking to me, but what are my unique assets that I have? Or why did you reach out to me? Or why did you accept the interview with me? You're going to get them to give you the answers to the test. You're going to be able to remind them at this point, because our value proposition is critical because it's our closer and it's our tactful closer. So rather than just trying to pull equity out and going, hey, give me more money, instead, what we're going to do is we're going to leverage the tactical empathy that we've built, that meaningful connection and relationship. We're going to talk about things from their perspective and say, hey, I really appreciate that you sent me that offer yesterday. I'm really grateful for it. I appreciate that your organization has shown the confidence and that you personally have gone to bat for me, right? Then we say, I want to talk to you, just regarding some of the details of my offer letter. And, the reason I want to talk to you about them is, I know that we had talked about the ways that I provided value. I know we've gone over that you need somebody who does X, Y, and Z, and my background demonstrates these 3 things. And that's really the main reason that I've come to you to talk to you about, the compensation level and why I'm really looking to be $15,000 higher than this offer is standing at. I want to make sure that we're both getting a lot of value from this interaction, and that I'm here to work here for a long time to be really happy doing that, so that's a great way, guys, to open that conversation to the recruiter and to give them the ammunition. To be fair, remember, they're not just the company, they're a human being. So give them the ammunition they need to go to their boss and to fight for you and say, hey, listen, this is why my candidate needs to get in here. Do remember this, recruiters work for the company. So that is definitely where their loyalty lies at the end of the day. I'm not saying they're being dishonest with us, but the company pays their bills. However, if you've invested in the relationship, treated them respectfully, and you remember that a recruiter, like many salespeople, many recruiters have quotas of some kind. So whether they're getting directly compensated or just rewarded with accolades, they are motivated to close you and bring you into the company. So give them the proper ammunition by knowing your value proposition and showing up like RE Gold to that negotiation. Now, guys, if you're in a great professional situation or you successfully negotiated offers before, please drop down in the comments and talk to the people who are transitioning right now and aren't as experienced at this phase of their career, and talk to them about which one of these really work well or why they don't, or something that wasn't mentioned here that really is effective for people to know during this offer stage that we've left out. Drop down in the comments and leave that info, as well as if you guys are currently negotiating or you're going into the job offer process and you need a little bit more information or ammunition, drop down in the comments and ask questions as well.